Hey everyone, this is James Pudner. This is the second video of this little tutorial series going over this budget template that I created. Basically, this one's going to be going over the options. So as I mentioned in the intro video, and if you haven't seen that, I would watch that first or none of this will make any sense to you. But this is going to be going over those different options. So right now we have none of the options on, so by default this is going to be as simple as it can be. Basically, of course you can always find ways to make it more simple, have less accounts, etc. But so if you click the expense, we've got no day option, no tax deductible, etc. So we're going to go over each of those options one by one so you can kind of see what they do. You're going to click this options tab, and this is going to bring you to this page, which has a little key just letting you know that fields for data entry are in blue. So an example of those would be where you enter in your budgeted amounts. Those are going to be colored in blue, just to let you know that you can go ahead in there and type numbers in those cells. It's also going to let you know that drop-down menus are in orange. So an example of those would be your options right here. So anytime you want to update these options, just go ahead and change them. You can do this, of course, at the beginning, and then anytime thereafter if you change your mind on something or don't need anything anymore. So anytime you change them, just change the drop-down menus and click this update button. So the day, as I showed you before, if you click the expense buttons, then you're not going to have the option to put in a day, only a month. If you turn this on, then you will also be able to enter in the exact day. And I recommend this just because it's good for bank reconciliations, or if you want to just keep track of exactly when you spent your money. It's just a good idea, to me anyways, to be able to enter in the exact day. But if you're not as interested, if you want to just lump all the expenses from January into one big group of January expenses, then of course that's definitely an option. Just leave it off. This R/T is for refund/total. It's good for if you're being reimbursed for something like insurance reimbursements, or if you're covering a friend and they're going to be paying you back. I'll go into that one at the end just because that one's a little bit longer. This one, the tax, is for if you're going to basically have anything for if you're itemizing your deductions, or if you're going to have anything taxable or anything that would be beneficial to know when you're filing your taxes, you'd want to go ahead and turn this one on. So this also gives you the options for the tax report, which I'll show you in a moment, and that's just sorting options. But if we go ahead and update, now you'll see on this expense journal we now have this tax column, and anything that we say is tax deductible or is just taxable, just something that's going to be related to taxes, then we're going to select yes. And so now when we select this expense, we've got this little checkbox up here. So the same idea, just now we can keep everything that's tax deductible together. So we'll call this one charity. Since charity, some of us know is tax deductible, we'll make it 60. And if anytime you want to change something to tax deductible or tax anything, you can go and change this option here. I would definitely recommend, by the way, just with an accounting background, that if you're doing something tax deductible, I'd put in the description maybe the check number or something, so you have other support you can pull up in the case of an audit or anything like that. But that's just a recommendation because this is just text. Once you do that, the other thing that the tax deductible thing does is allows you to create this tax report. And so if you create that, it'll pull it all into this one printable sheet. It'll also date it the current day. So you can just go ahead and if you click print, it's already set to just print this area. It also sorts it on account because that's the option I had selected, but that's just the other benefit that gets activated when you do that tax deductible or tax item on. Alright, so next is going to be the tax report. As I mentioned, is just how this tax report gets sorted, whether you want it to be based on account or on date. If you want it to include this category column, that's just that other option. Auto fit. So on the budget, you'll see there's this auto fit button. So this was a recommendation or a feature request from my mother dearest, who got confused once when she saw the numbers. So she didn't know what happened, so I put this button in. It's going to automatically auto fit it, whether it's zoom problems or whether it's the columns. And this option over here chooses whether you want it to autofit based on the words. Now this is usually a good idea unless you have a lot of columns or some of your categories are really long, because what this will do is fit it so that the entire category name can fit in that column. So as you can see with autofit, transportation ends up being longer just because it's trying to fit that entire amount. If you change it to fixed, this is going to allow you to choose exactly how wide each column is going to be. So if we want it to be 15, and this is in pixels, and of course they're also, by the way, side note, all these red little dots mean I left a tip there or a comment there, so you can always just mouse over and see if you're not sure what something is. So now if we go to that budget and we auto fit it, everything's going to be huge. Now I just made it zoom out more because it made all the columns much wider, because the auto fit does both, fix the column width and zoom it correctly. So if we change it to something more realistic like 10, that's going to be a better option, especially for, like I said, if you have a lot of categories and you're not sure if they're all going to fit, or if you have some really long categories. So now, as you can see, the transportation gets cut off a little bit, but it also just looks much nicer with the fact that they're all evenly distributed. So I'll go and leave this one on auto fit, which is of course going to deactivate that. And now the next time we do it, as you can see, the transportation is a little bit bigger. Some of the other ones are a little bit bigger because of these. So it's just that's the auto fit option. Next, we've got these categories and accounts, and this is really just adding and editing the accounts. And so this I'm going to go into much more detail on in some of the other tutorial videos, especially the starting one where you're initially setting up your budget. This will just take you to the account page, and it'll give you a little tip letting you know about the comments. This part will take you to explain the category account relationship. Again, I'll go into that in much more detail on another video. The budget rows, so budget total. This is going to be for if you know exactly how much money you're going to be bringing home and you want to distribute in your budget, you can enter in this amount here. So say we've got $1,500 to distribute, it's also going to show this amount left to allocate to different categories. So as you can see, we're in the negative now. We've allocated $2,075. We only have $1,500 to allocate. So we're going to need to knock down some of these amounts. Same thing the other way. If you have $2,500, now we have $425 left to allocate. Once we get rid of that, so let's make this $455, that'll just disappear. So that's the budgeting total amount. The next one, the variable. I touched this very briefly in the intro video, but this is going to be if you've got some expenses that you're going to be paying lump sums in certain months. A good example of that would usually be insurance. So if you're going to be paying insurance like every 6 months, that's not going to be the even $200 every month. That's going to be $1,000 one month and then almost zero for the next bunch. So if it's going to be a variable account like that where it's just going to go way up and way down, you can select yes in this column up here, and that just won't nag you about going over on those months when you just had to make the payment. It will still nag you on the average because that's just that you shouldn't. The idea is that to let you know if you're spending more than you thought you were, then next year you can change the budgeted amount for your insurance, etc. But so you can do that for any of those columns. You can just turn it back off if you change your mind. But that's the variable amount. The year remaining, this is going to show you already have your month remaining down here. This is just going to show you how much you have left for the year. So once you go over an amount in a year, basically just highlights big and red and angry saying you've already spent all of your money. So for me, I went way over my entertainment last year. I don't remember which account I tied to entertainment here. I think it was I think actually I did recreation instead of entertainment on this year's budget. But so say I went way over whatever amount I had budgeted for the entire year. I don't remember what I budgeted, so I may not even do it. Now in the year remaining, as you can see, it's telling you you've already gone way over what you were supposed to for the entire year. So that's just another option you can turn on or off if you want to. Of course, the autofit will now change because there's more rows that are showing. But so those are the options. Now the other one that I put off until the end is the R/T, which is the refund/total. As I mentioned, this is good for if you're going to be getting reimbursed for something. That way you can still do, if you're doing bank reconciliations or anything like that, it'll allow you to see all those totals lined up so you can compare to your bank statements or your credit card statements while also not getting charged that same amount for each account. So just to show you what that is, I'll turn that on. Now on your expense journal, you'll see that we now have these two columns showing. So this is going to be the amount that you actually paid. Your total amount is going to be the amount you actually paid. And usually that's going to be the same as your amount. The only time it's going to be different is if you're getting paid back for something, like I said, reimbursed for insurance, etc. So if we go to the expense, now we've got these two little buttons down here. So let's call this a doctor's visit. So say if you know exactly how much you're paying, or you know exactly how much they're going to be reimbursing, you can go ahead and just do out of pocket, I'm going to be paying $35, but really I paid much more. Including in that total amount, I'm going to be getting reimbursed for $100. So now, as we can see, if we sort this total amount was $135 because that's what we actually paid. But out of pocket, we're only paying $35 because we're being reimbursed $100. Same thing with that total button, except you're going to be entering this amount. So that's probably going to usually be a little bit easier. So if we know that the actual amount we had to pay walking out of the doctor's office was $300, and we know that our copay is $45, we're going to get reimbursed for the difference, go ahead and do it that way. And again, now it's just going to be calculating backwards. And so that's the option. So if you want to play around with them or anything, feel free. Like I said, you can change them at any point at the beginning or later, and it won't mess anything up. So that's that, and I will be having more videos just explaining the other aspects of the budget. Everybody have a good day.